Good afternoon, everyone. I hope all of you are doing very well. Going ahead, yesterday we did a session on reference management tool Mendeley. Before that, we had done a couple of sessions on creating researcher ID and also on the research topics which I had recommended as sustainable development goals, and also area specific or the domain specific research topics. Yesterday we looked into the reference management tools Mendeley. Just to give you a few more tips on that. So if you are doing a search for an article, if you can see here in Google Scholar, the double quotes basically it basically shows the citation. So if you click on this, you'll be able to see the different citation style for this particular article, and down below you'll see something called as BibTeX. So if you click on that, you'll be able to look into the BibTeX of that article. Just say Control A, copy, and then go to Mendeley desktop, and you can, like yesterday I created this folder session 3, and I can just come here and say paste. So this entire the article citation would be copied and pasted into it. So this is something that I missed to tell you all yesterday. I thought I should just give you a quick review on that. And again, supposing you all have already reached half the way in writing your paper, another best way to get the citations is just place find the article and click on the double quotes. That would help you get the articles. Another beautiful aspect, I had sent a link about the funding opportunities. There's a link on Mendeley website which is called as funding. So you can go down and look into the funding types that are available. For example, if you're interested in let us say engineering, you just can click on that and it will show you the list of the funding opportunities that are available for this domain. The funding would be in the form of a research project. It could be even as a travel grant and things like that. So you can actually look into the type of funding that you're looking for, whether it is for equipment and a facility, or for a fellowship, or some training, etc. You can even look into show more, and even there is sometimes fund available for travel and conference. If you see here, you'll be able to look into the different type of funding that is right now open, and you can actually go and apply for them. So I would leave it to you to explore into these options that are available on this website. Moving ahead, today we are going to talk about the citation and the citation style. First of all, let us try to understand what is the purpose of citation. So citation has several important purposes. One is to uphold your intellectual honesty or avoid plagiarism. I would be talking about plagiarism later in the sessions, but just to give you a small idea about how citations play an important role. There are basically different type of journals, right? So you have the normal journals, and then you have the peer-reviewed journals. So what does a peer review process actually involve? So the first thing that happens in the peer review is when you send your article to any of these peer-reviewed journals, the peers, the bench of the experts who are there, they have an experience of nearly 8 to 15 years in that domain. So the first thing that they would do is go into your references, list of references that you've given, and try to find out if you have cited some of those landmark articles in it. So that is where the citations play a role, because that actually authenticates the type of work you have done, and it also kind of weighs the quality of work. The quality of references actually would speak a lot about the quality of output that you might have contributed over there. So again, it also attributes some original work or ideas to correct the sources, and also to allow the reader to determine independently whether the reference material supports the author's argument in the claimed way, and to help the reader gauge the strength and validity of the material the author has used. Very, very important. The citations talk a lot about, it's like an advocacy for your work. So always use the strongest articles to, or the most authentic articles to support your argument in your research paper. Secondly, there are different styles of referencing. I will show that in the later, depending upon the disciplines that you're into, and also depending upon the publishing houses. So different publishers will have different styles of referencing. Like for example, you talk about medical or paramedical related disciplines, then they would be using NLM, that is National Library of Medicine, their format. If it is IEEE, then they have their own format. APA, especially in social science studies, etc. So there are different citation styles depending upon the either the publishers or also depending upon the disciplines. So there are two ways of actually citing. One is briefing text citations, and then there is something called as a full citations, or what we call as the reference page at the end of the paper. And even in the passage you are giving some reference, which is usually in the form of parenthesis. So sources that are cited in the text must appear in the reference page. Here I would like to talk about two important things. One is, what is a reference and what is a bibliography? Usually these two things are not clearly understood. So basically, reference list is a list of those articles which you have referenced into your article. So there would be a mention about that article in your paper. And bibliography would mean anything that you have read to understand your topic, or to have an overview of the topic. So bibliography would have maybe around 200, but a reference list would be something maybe even a 20. So this is most importantly to be understood, that references are they must appear in the page, in the paper where you have cited them. Okay, and only those things make a reference list and not anything else. Okay, so you have to be very careful about this. This also basically talks about the quality of research you're doing, and the type of researcher, the maturity of a researcher. Again, there are a few things that you need to understand. When do I use an ampersand? When do I put a parenthesis, or when do I use et al. And things like that. So if and for example, if there are two authors, if you're putting it into the parenthesis like this, you can put the ampersand. But if you are mentioning about that author in the text, that time you are using and over here. Okay, so a little more details I'll be giving further. If there is no date available of that publication, you can also write no date, n.d. which also means no date. So for example, supposing if you have tried to say something, and then at the end of that, that whole paragraph actually was conclusion that you have drawn from a particular paper, then you can write the citation towards the end and then end it with a punctuation mark. But just in case, if you are kind of putting it in between, if you're using multiple authors and trying to say something, then you can write the name of the author and just put a single parenthesis with its date. Okay, this will play an important role, because maybe you are using 3 or 4 articles of the same author but published during different years, so that this will differentiate which article we are actually referring to. So as I said, if you are trying to say it in between the in between the line, at that time you can use the end, and if it is towards the end of the line, then you can use this ampersand when you put everything into a parenthesis. I hope this is making it clear. You can put questions to me if you're not getting it right here. Other citation possibilities, as I said, if there are up to three authors, you can write the names of all the three authors. But if it is more than three authors, then you need to keep this in mind in the work with, like for example, in this the Human Genome Project, Sulps et al. Et al means and others, and others. This is how we write. So we write the first author's surname, and then we write et al. Okay, for the others. So this is also equally important to remember. And sometimes if it is from a report from some organization, maybe a corporation or an association or a government agency, then you have to mention the agency name and the report. And first time you may have to write it in full form, and in the next time you can write it in the short form. Same way, supposing if there are no authors mentioned or anything, and if it is a particular report that you're talking about, please remember there are certain rules that different APA, different citation styles will suggest. Please follow them. Like for example, if this is IK report 2005, so it is a report, so we have put it under the double quotes, etc. So this is very, very important to remember. As I said, everything you referenced in your text must be listed in the reference list, and conversely, everything you list in the reference list must be cited in your essay. So this is some of the mistakes that I have seen sometimes in the poster presentations also, where I have noticed that they just write the references down, but they are not cited anywhere in their essay or in their presentation. So this needs to be very, very clearly understood. Now coming to the different styles of citations and what is the format, though we are using Mendeley, definitely it just solves our problem, because we just go to a particular paragraph, go to the particular this, we say okay, I want to see it in this particular style, and then I can just copy as the formatted text. Again, as you can see here, you can if you're using LaTeX, or you want to sometimes if you're a university or doing your PhD from some other university, then they might ask you to do it in EndNote. Then you can also copy as a BibTeX entry, or if you're using LaTeX, then you can use the LaTeX citation command here. So I'll just set copy the formatted citation, and then I just paste it here, so it's already in the format that it should be. 2-3 tips that I would like to keep I would want you to keep in mind is there are different referencing styles. At the same time, there are different ways of referencing a particular periodical article, a particular book, a particular report, a particular conversation, a video, a newspaper article, a blog. There are referencing styles available for each of those types. So you need to understand that everything that you do, sometimes if it is the latest research, you're using a meta search, right? So you would be using all sorts of documents. It's not necessarily only the research articles. So you need to understand that I should not miss on citing every source that I have used, right? So if it's a website, or if it is some kind of an data set that you're using or anything, there are referencing styles available for it. So don't miss on finding out about the referencing style for that particular document type. At our library website, library.atmiya.net, we have a resource called Research Commons. Just go to this website, and here we have created a resource for you as Start Your Research, and you can just go to citation styles and tools. So there I have created a citation guide for you, which will help you in understanding for what type of materials what how you need to cite. One more very important thing, especially when you are referencing the online resources, don't forget to mention the DOI, that is document object identifier, because sometimes the website of the article might change but the DOI would remain the same. So don't forget to mention the DOI and the time that you have accessed it. See, even when you do it in Mendeley, for example, it would actually mention what time have you actually accessed it, etc. So it really helps, added on, like for example here it is written that it was accessed on 13th of July 2017. So that basically actually saves you because sometimes these articles may not be available for future access, and that time the time you accessed would definitely make a lot of support for you. So I would request you to please go through these tools that I have kept here. There are also some video lectures that I have made available. Please explore, and it is interesting, though we are using Mendeley or any other tools of reference management, but it is always good as a researcher to know how do we cite the the resource. With this I would wait for your questions. I'm really happy to see a lot of subscribers to the channel, the YouTube channel that we have, and where these videos have been uploaded, and I am very happy to see the comments of the students. Thank you so much, faculty members, for helping me reach out to the students, and those of you who have still not, please allow the PG students and the UG students who are doing their research to access these resources. I would be more than happy to help them out in this endeavor. This is the best time I think we could be available for them, and I would be really looking forward for supporting them. So please help me connect them. Thank you so much.